This is the One Soldier Podcast, episode 19, with me, Russell Hillier. On today's episode, we're going to the South African borderlands and the last of the Cold War's proxy wars, with former paratrooper and author Granger Korff. Granger's book, 19 with a Bullet, has sold tens of thousands of copies around the world and chronicles his missions and battles against Soviet-backed forces in Namibia and Angola in the early 1980s, as South Africa waged a prolonged and a brutal war of survival on its border. Granger's going to guide us through the African bush to give us a sense of what this war was really like, including the tank battles, the airstrikes, and the small team patrols deep inside enemy territory. Granger Korff joined me from his home in California, and here's our conversation. Yeah, I think this is actually going to happen.
Well, nice to meet you, Russell.
You too, Granger. Really, really excited that you could join the podcast today. I've been looking forward to it.
Yes, definitely, man. Definitely.
I usually have the big Canadian flag in the background for me, but I can see behind you, you've got the old South African flag.
Yeah, that's the old South African flag there. We got it.
Nice.
I got it
You
going.
can still get those?
No, yeah, they're kind of hard to find.
Yeah.
They're hard to find, and I had a friend that I was visiting, and she gave it to me.
Nice.
She said,
man.
"Yeah, take this."
Cool. Well, thanks again for beaming in from all the way from California. I've been reading your book, 19 with a Bullet, and not quite done it, but it's a fantastic read, Granger. I really, really enjoyed the book. It's well written. It sort of resonates with, I think, anybody who can imagine, like, you know, being a young man and sort of like trying to find yourself. And of course you do find yourself through the field of battle and the army.
You sure do. And in our case there, Russell, so we weren't professional soldiers. We were, conscripted. So you do your national service. Everybody has to do their national service. So you find yourself soon after high school, up in the army, getting trained really quickly. So you go from schoolboy to like fighting soldier pretty quick.
Yeah, but of course, like I get the sense from your book that was something that you sort of might have fallen into anyways.
Yeah, correct. I mean, when I went in and I had to do my 2 years, I decided to of course, if you're going to do your 2 years, go to, I wanted to see some action. Go to where the action is. So volunteered for the paratroopers, for the airborne. They call them parabats over there, and volunteered for that because you had heard that they saw all the action. They saw a lot of action, and that's and the other thing there in South Africa, the whole national service thing was kind of kept. Everybody did it, but the little war on the border. The war on the border going on there was actually what was going on was a little bit of a hush-hush. No one really knew exactly what was going on there,
Yeah, but that's kind of interesting. But like South Africa at that time was, I don't know, it's almost like it might have had like a siege mentality, because you're really like South Africa in 1981, was it when you joined? Or
yes, 81.
Yeah, so
81.
By this time, the country is sort of surrounded, I guess you could say, by hostile powers.
That's right. Since 75 in Angola, which is just north of us. Angola was Portuguese colony for over 400 years, and in 1975 Portugal pulled out, leaving a vacuum there, and they pulled out of Mozambique at the same time. That used to be the Portuguese. So yeah. So there was a war going on there straight away with these different groups fighting for power. And Angola, a Marxist group, took power. So It was a big rush. So so we were, as you say, surrounded by Marxist countries pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to a guy named Tim Bax, who on the podcast a few months ago, he was in the Rhodesian Light Infantry and the Selu Scouts.
Yes.
And he had the way that he sort of put it was that once Portugal got out of Angola and Mozambique and its African colonies, that's when they knew that things were going to get really tough, because all of a sudden you had not that the Portuguese army was like all that effective, but it allowed the enemy to sort of move freely and then like attack deeper into their own countries.
100%. That's where everything changed. And Rhodesia, as you know, had their own little war going on there before us, through the 70s. And then and that ended in 1980, at the end of 1980, I believe. That's right. That's when that came to an end.
Right when your story kicks off.
Yeah, we missed that. Our senior company, airborne company, there's every 6 months there's new recruits going in. So our senior company was in Rhodesia helping out, because the South Africans were helping out there. They would drive to the border, have to change at the border. They were given strange clothes, strange cigarettes, strange everything, and they went in there as like that. So they were fighting in
really?
Rhodesia.
I didn't even realize there was that much coordination. Like I knew that there was like supplies being dropped off, but like I didn't know that.
No, the airborne paratroopers.
Right.
Paratroopers were there fighting. So our senior companies, I think it is A&E company. They were in Rhodesia, and
interesting.
You were changed at the border. Drop your clothes at the border.
Go in disguise.
Different underpants, everything, and you've given new cigarettes, new underpants, new uniform, and off you go.
That's fascinating. Well, getting back to the book, it's been very successful, hasn't it? I mean, it sold a lot of copies.
Yes.
Seems like you did pretty well with that. And we had an interesting conversation briefly on the phone. I think it was last week when we talked about, because I asked you, like, why did you write this book? And you had a really interesting like explanation for that. Do you want to get into that a little bit?
Well, it's quite simple, and it is quite strange. I came over to the US in 85 on a sort of, I used to box. I was a professional boxer, and to get some boxing training and to see a friend. But I was planning on going back. I didn't planning on staying here. But anyway, I ended up staying here. But yeah, so when I spoke to the Americans, and because I still had this war raging in my head, because we were up there fighting in 80, 81. So I came here in 85. So yeah, I was still had this war going on and telling everybody, this is what we did, and did this, fighting Cubans, tanks chasing us, RPG 7s flying, bombs, and everybody looked at you like you never heard of this, we never heard of this war, So that's one of the reasons that I started writing the book a little bit. I thought, bloody hell, I know what happened. I know what we did. And
because when people on this side of the ocean, when we think of Africa, and this is maybe the product of being a kid growing up in the 1990s watching the news, but when I think of war in Africa, I think of machetes and warlords, but this is like full on tank battles, airstrikes. This is very like a very modern war.
Yeah, full on attacks. Soviet tanks. Had
Cubans.
Yeah. We had a Soviet tank come right out at us. We turned around and everybody bolted for cover. And then later on, I was there 80, 81. I think it is in 87, there was a big tank battle, a huge tank battle up there with the Cubans and the Angolans versus the South Africans. It was broken up in different battles over about 3 months. But it was Cueto Kudavale is where it was, and you can look it up, and it is amazing stories there, boy. Close up tank battles, in the bush, close contact. That went on for many battles, and I think there was about 4,000 Cubans and Angolans killed. South Africa lost about 40 or 45. We lost one tank, quite a few vehicles. They lost, I think it was like 80 tanks. So it was a hell of a fight. And like you say, when you think of Africa, you don't think of that.
No, not at all. And just the fact that there's 50,000 Cubans in Africa, it sounds like almost, if you didn't know your history, you'd say like, oh no, it's unbelievable. Yeah. It just seems so bizarre, like a tiny country like that. But, being able to send over a force of that size. But I mean, then again, it is the Cold War and there's some strange things happening.
Well, this was the last war of the Cold War, of the proxy war. This was one of those proxy wars. There was Nicaragua going on at the time, I think, and South Africa and Angola. So it was a proxy war of the Cold War for sure.
In Canada, like we sort of think of well, of course, you've got Vietnam as a proxy war.
Yeah.
Korea before that.
Yes, correct.
But yeah, like I think if you like this, South Africa is definitely like you said, the sort of the last stop on that train.
Yes, it was, and it's so funny now, these days, Facebook and all this stuff. We're friends with the Russian advisors that were there.
Really?
We're friends with them, text them, joke with them, speak to them every day.
You do, eh?
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. And they send photographs of themselves in uniform with Sam Njomo standing. He was the interpreter for Sam Njomo, who was the head of SWAPO, which was the guerrilla group we were fighting.
Right.
And there he is, standing next to him. And I told him, Igor, it's funny, man. If we had Facebook and cell phones back then, you could have just told us where you were.
Yeah.
Next to Sam Njomo, there would have been no war. It's the funniest thing.
It occurred to me really early on in the book that you sort of lived, I don't know, how should I say it? You sort of lived like every young man, every teenage boy's dream, sort of, or at least like every rebellious youth's dream, because there's a lot of fighting, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. Yeah. You took down the hot English high school teacher.
Yes.
And then you went to war. So like, you've lived an interesting life.
That's right, and it didn't stop after that. After the army, I was boxing as a professional in South Africa as well, and it carried on. But yes, I was at school, just your normal sort of hot-headed youngster. Went to 5 different high schools. Every year I was in a different high school through some problem or other. One of them was screwing the English teacher, but
yeah.
But and there's a lot of fisticuffs and that going on in South Africa. It's an aggressive sort of country. It's having fighting and that's like the sort of national pastime over there. It's like it's just what it is.
Why do you think that is? Like, is it just something of the culture, or like?
I think it's a background to the English, because they pretty aggressive. The Brits are always having bar fights and what's not. I think it's that mixed with the Afrikaans, who are very sturdy people. They're very aggressive people in a way. So the combination of the whole thing, it's hard. And in South Africa, you're living in Africa there. So you got it right from very young age. It's a different thing. You got the whole of Africa on your back. Mm-hmm. And from a young age, you got to be a man, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is. You're in Africa, so you're raised kind of a little bit macho, I suppose it is. But you know what? You got to do it. You got to be like that there. It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
you're living in Africa, so it's just the way it is.
You can't can't take all the, I don't know, I guess like the like security that you have in North America for granted over there. I guess you're saying. Correct. You got to look after yourself.
You got to be able to look after yourself over there. So, and you learn that from a boy, from a young boy. You got to stand up from a boy. Yeah.
Well, there's been some great boxers come out of South Africa over the years. So
exactly. And the same thing lended itself into the South African military, which was it was a pretty harsh army, very good little army. Mm-hmm. But very hard, strict, and a harsh army, So good, very good army. But so that whole South African mentality went into the military and made it a good, capable small army.
I was sort of thinking to myself that it sort of would have to be that way because, like in Canada, we've had our wars in the past, 20 years, like Afghanistan being, I think the longest running war we've been in. But, in South Africa in 1980, like the war is very existential because if you lose, then you lose your country. Whereas, the wars that we fought over the years, like if we lose in Afghanistan, it's not like the next day we're going to be overrun. But
No.
with you guys, you had enemies like literally on your doorstep. So if you lose that war, then it's
Yes.
you're not just losing the war, you're losing the country too.
Yes, yes, yes. And the guys that were fighting for independence, we were mainly fighting SWAPO. They wanted independence of Southwest Africa, Namibia, which the beef is not that bad. But the only problem was that they were being trained by the Soviets.
Right.
So, Namibia, it used to be a German colony. And anyway, these guys they were fighting for independence, which in itself can be understandable. But the problem is that they were being trained by the Soviets at the height of the Cold War.
Right.
So that was the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course the Soviets they're training them. They have advisors on the ground. They're giving them equipment.
Oh yeah, flooded with equipment. If you saw in my book, I've got my photographs right here. I've got these, and you can see some of the stuff. For example, right here, that's what we captured from a operation that we did in Angola, Soviet stuff.
Just hold that back a little bit more.
Sorry, and these photographs are in my book, I think.
Yeah. Right.
All captured stuff,
It's a lot of gear.
Yeah, a lot of gear. Here's the tanks right here. Captured tanks, a lot of tanks. This is from Operation Protea, captured tanks.
Yeah.
Soviet.
Right.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Well, let's get into that. You join the Parabats, as they're called.
Yes.
And it seems the training was pretty hardcore to get into that group. I love the part in the book where your inspiration to join the paratroopers is this, mean looking guy that you see on the street.
Yeah.
And then just by chance you run into him during your training, and you actually had a bad day on the training course, and this guy who you met on Civvy Street, he sort of like takes you under his wing and ushers you through the vetting process.
No, it wasn't that. No. Those were two different incidents, actually.
Oh, okay.
Those are two different incidents. But the guy that did spur me onto it, he was a guy that when I was in Civvy Street, just when I had a few months left to go to the army, we were walking. I used to have long hair, down past my shoulders in high school. And I saw this, this little skinny airborne guy walking past me with a no nonsense look. And and he just glanced at us like don't fuck with me kind of look.
Yeah.
And then we ended up meeting him around the corner having lunch. And then, so I got to speak to the guy, and he said, "Oh yeah, he did this, and he jumped into the enemy base." And I thought, man, that's where I'm going. I want to go the airborne. And anyway, I did. And but no, I didn't meet him.
Different guy then.
Different guy that I did. There was a lieutenant that was a mean son of a gun when I was engineers, because I was called up to the engineers, and they told me that the airborne's not going to come looking for volunteers here. You are staying here. And he was the meanest, one of the meanest individuals I've ever met. Up to that point, of course.
Yeah.
Lieutenant. And anyway, the airborne did come around, and he helped me through the getting into it. And once
during the training, like you had some it's pretty graphic, like how you're talking about pulling off your toenails and your feet are just mangled after the training. And it almost seems like you might, if it hadn't been for that guy who like got you onto the course, like it seems like you might have given up, but you're like, no, this guy like stuck out his neck for me.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna see this through.
That's true, because I messed up on the preliminary tests to get in. I screwed up on it, but he knew that I was the one out of everybody that wanted to get in there.
Yeah, he saw something in you.
Yeah, and he grabbed me and got me in. And those were just the little tests at the beginning.
Yeah,
the real test was still to come.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
During that 2 week of PD course, which is just PD for 2 weeks straight, just that's it, from morning till night, just because the whole object is to get you off the course. They don't want you on the course. They want to send you back to your original unit, and then and very tough. And there was about 700 guys that volunteered, and out of that 200 guys made it. So the guys drop off like flies. And no, I would not give up. I lost all my toenails.
Yeah.
And I was going to get those wings, man, going to get those wings.
Yeah.
And then, and it was all worth it because we would see our senior companies. So while we were training, we would see our senior companies come back from the border, and they were all long-haired and tanned, and with their R4 machine guns, all, you know, and they'd been seeing a lot of action. They saw a lot of action, and we would see them when they came back to base camp, and we see, my God, you know, that's what we're going to end up to be, fighting paratroopers, you know. And sure enough, our turn came, and you know, we were the senior company, and we were sent up there. So we trained for a year of hardship, and then we were sent up to the border. And on the first 3 hours of landing up on the border on Dangwa, in the first 3 hours of landing there, to relieve our senior Parabat company, the siren went off, and we saw our seniors charging out of their tents, you know, with no shirts on, and running to the Puma helicopters with the siren going, and they flew off, and they, and, you know, we were like, wow, that's impressive. We had just arrived up there on the operational area, you know, and then about 2 hours later, they came back and they unloaded about 5 or 6 dead terrorists and tossed them down. And, you know, so then we thought,
that's an eye-opening moment, I'm sure.
That's an eye-opening moment. You know, funny thing, not funny thing, crazy thing. And I haven't really told anybody many times. Okay, so we had a classmate when I was in high school that was killed up on the border, and he was a year above me. And he had been killed on the border, and we never knew how or where. You know, you just heard that Donald Brooks had been killed up on the border. Anyway, ended up those 5 or 6 terrorists that they dropped down there were the ones that killed my classmate Donald Brooks.
Really?
I only found that out many years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So at the time, you didn't know that these were the guys
responsible. No. I found out many years later when I got the dates. When I got the dates, there was an ambush pretty close to our base where these terrorists had come, and they ambushed a convoy that my mate Donald Brooks was on. And then so when the seniors ran to the helicopters and flew off, that's where they were going.
Yeah, really.
And they nailed these tours. But yeah, so I actually saw, and I've got the photograph of the killers of my classmate Donald Brooks.
Yeah, man.
I don't think anyone. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But we soon found ourselves in action. You know, we started off doing patrols inside of Namibia, this side of the border, because on Dangwa is right on the Angolan border. And then pretty soon we had started doing cross-border raids into Angola.
Right.
And that's a different story. So we would go, like the one operation, it was Operation Carnation. It was Operation Ceiling, which was in conjunction with Operation Carnation. And that was all the Airborne and 32 Battalion were in Angola. And we were there for 4 weeks just doing a zigzag seek and destroy.
Right.
Just the zigzagging in platoon strength.
Yeah.
So when you're walking in somebody else's country in platoon strength, it's you know, and
you're feeling it, eh? Like when you're
you're feeling it. It's all very well when you're this side of the border, when you're on your side of the border, you know, doing a patrol in a platoon. But when you're in someone else's in Angola, different story.
Yeah, it's all psychological at that point. Totally different mindset, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100% mindset, because you realize that you shouldn't be there, and they have every right to kill all of you for being in their country, and there's only 24 of you, and you got an RPG, and you got, you know, 60 mil mortars and whatnot, and
yeah, like if shit goes wrong and you're only a platoon size force in a, you know, hostile country, like you're isolated, you're vulnerable.
Yes. So what happened was our company split up. So they're 4 platoons. So every 5 kilometers was a platoon. So we were 5 kilometers apart, and we spent 4 weeks going like this, zigzagging up into Angola, looking for trouble. And we
looking for FAPLA or
SWAPO. Right,
okay.
then, SWAPO were the insurgents. So we were looking for them. So they had training bases inside Angola, and it was a safe haven. So Angola let them have their training bases inside Angola. So we were going looking for SWAPO. At that point, we weren't allowed to shoot FAPLA. If you saw them, unless they shot on you, you didn't. We were going after SWAPO.
Yeah.
But that changed pretty soon afterwards, and we saw quite a bit of action, like the one. We had been in there for a week or so, and they flew in this SWAPO deserter. I think he was a deserter or he had been captured. I never found out which. But anyway, they flew him in to us, and he led us overnight to his comrades.
Yeah.
So they chose 16 of us, and we put on Black is Beautiful, complete black. Camo is what we do in South Africa. Totally black. You look like a black man.
Is that just to like disguise yourself, like most of the local population?
Yes,
sort of.
That's what it is. So you do completely black, your whole face, everything, arms, and you put it on every few days. You put new camo on every 3-4 days. So, and it's in the movies the guys do the stripes on the face, and no, we didn't do that. We went, you go black.
Yeah.
And that Sealer Scouts, that guy that you interviewed, he would tell you some stories. He would tell you some stories about where they sneaked into a base disguised as, I think, ZANU or something.
Yeah.
And they had a bus with chickens on the roof. And
yeah. They would go all out. Yeah.
And they got right into the base, and all these terrorists like rejoiced, and they came towards them thinking that they were the other guerrillas.
Yeah.
Only when they got close by, they saw everybody had blue eyes.
Yeah, that's right.
And they had 20 millimeters in those buses, and they nailed them.
The Rhodesians, they would do the same thing, just like you said, like try to disguise themselves, and like I guess like you're probably not going to fool anybody like in the light of day, at least not for too long. But if there's a little bit of distance between you and maybe the light's not there, then you can pull it off.
Yeah. The recon, our recons, our reckies, they were some hot, tough guys, man. They would sneak right into bases, into the enemy bases, just on the outskirts, and they would go right up to the MiGs. I mean, there's some amazing. I can give you some names for some good interviews.
Yeah,
it's amazing stuff they've done. The one guy was right on a MiG. They were planting bombs on the MiGs, on the Cuban MiGs, way up in Angola. Wow. That's where he was, right up by the MiGs. Blowing them up, but they had to abort it right at the last moment.
Yeah,
but
so that's what you guys did when you're going on this patrol with a deserter. You're camoed up.
Yes. So 16 of us put Black is Beautiful on at about 9 o'clock, and we followed this guy through the night. Followed him through the night, and in Africa, the bush, you can get lost. You can go out for a pee and get lost, not finding your way back. I mean, that's what it's like there. And he takes us through the night. We walk the whole night. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, he stops and he points and he points. And nobody, this is walking the whole night. Nobody's saying a word. This is walking slowly, taking the twig in front of you and handing it to the guy behind you so it doesn't catch in your equipment.
Yeah.
So I think he got lost some, but nobody spoke. No one said a damn word. But he finally, at about 4 in the morning, so how many hours is that? It's, I don't know, 6-7 hours we've been walking. He says, there they are. And it's still pitch black, and they push him aside, and we walk through. I was one of the first guys, just because I walk too fast. Whatever I do fast. So we 16 of us lined up, and we went across this clearing. In Angola, there's a lot of clearings. They're called shaunas, where it's just sand, and then there's bush, and then there's another shauna. Some shaunas are like, 30 square yards. Yeah. Other shaunas are like a mile long. So we cross the shauna, and sure enough, I walk in the bush, and here's a little fire, and here's bedding, and all their stuff's right there. How this guy led us right up to him in that bush in the middle of the night, and I walked right into that. It's amazing. But walk through, stuff's there, food's there, bedding's there, racks, they make those racks out of branches and shells. Yeah. Expecting to get shot at any second, walk through, nobody says a word, quiet, walking right through their bedding, expecting to get raked with AK-47 at any second. Go through, nothing. Keep walking, nothing. Walk. Anyway, we go through, all this stuff's there. And then, so the lieutenant says, go. He motions us to go forward. So we go forward past, a little ways past, and so we go down. So everybody's tired and cold, freezing cold. And disappointed. We walked the whole bloody night. Then it's lemon. There's nobody there.
Right.
So we sit down. I remember getting my weapon and throwing it in the dirt, my R4, pissed off. And anyway, we sit there, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. And we hear a can being kicked right here next to us, a can and a laugh. So they were right next to us.
No shit.
Nobody said a word. If one of our guys had said, oh, shit, the whole fucking night we walked, we missed them. Or if anybody had farted or laughed or burped, these guys would have did what we did to them.
Yeah.
So we got up.
So you got him in the end.
Oh, we got up. We crept to them. No orders given. Every man by himself. We crept right on them. The sun was sky was just getting gray. We saw them in front of us starting their fires. And, and we waited, I don't know, maybe half an hour picking our targets. I must have changed my target 30 times. And then my mate opened up with his RPG-7 right into their fire.
Yeah.
So these guys are, they 40 yards from us, if that, 30 yards from us. And we sat there for 20 minutes, just aiming them. And then we just opened fire, and then we charged in and we got them all, got all of them.
I can imagine so what you're feeling when you're walking through their abandoned camp, beforehand, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, did this guy lead us into a trap or?
100%. Yeah. 100%. Right at the beginning, before we even got there, I thought this has got to be a damn ambush. This guy, he's pointing, he's saying there, and there's pitch black. So the moon is shining on the Shauna, which is white sand, and the shadows of the trees ahead of us are pitch black. And he's saying they're in there, and it's Angola. It's dry shrub, dry. It's not huge trees in where we were. Further up they are, but it's shrub, bush. And no, it was something else. We nailed them all, and there were some tough guys. I mean, the one guy died. I'd heard them talking about it, but I'd never seen it before. On his chest, he got nailed through the chest, through the throat, and he ran. We managed to run, I don't know, 20 yards or something. And when I got to him, he had a fuck you sign on his chest towards me, like this. In South Africa, that means screw you,
Yeah.
And he had it on his chest, man. As I got in, he had that in his hand.
Oh man.
Tough, yeah.
Jesus. And it goes to show you the difference between life and death in the border war or any war really is something as small as somebody kicking a can.
Yes, you're 100% right. Somebody kicking a can, isn't that something, eh?
Yeah.
If we had said one word, if one guy had said, fuck, we've walked the whole night, or even if he had just said, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
That's it. They would have done to us what we did to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, my kind of reminds me of some of the stories my brother told me from fighting the Islamic State in Iraq, where, it's sometimes it's life and death is just a matter of inches, it could be a gust of wind or somebody exhaling when they're, taking their shot. It's
right.
It's crazy to think about that. That's what you're dealing with.
You're 100% right.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if it's fate or.
Oh, yes, 100% right. And then about 2 days later, so now we're still in Angola. So that is a successful ambush. We get all stuff. About 2 days later, so we carry on advancing up Angola, our little merry platoon. And then we rest. No, we were too far north. So they told us to hang out for a while, I guess, while the other platoons got alongside us. So we were sitting waiting, and we saw this old man. My friend and I saw this old man. Once again, we were led there. And we called the old man over because we had been compromised. So here's this old man walking up. He sees us. We see him. So we say, hey, Hila, come here. So he comes. And so what do we do now? We got this old fella,
Yeah.
you know. So we ask him, where's Swapo? Swapo, where's Swapo? So he says, yeah, Swapo's over here. He says, yeah. And he'll take us there. So we didn't have comms for some reason. The bloody radio's always breaking down.
Yeah.
He's never got bloody comms. And we didn't have communications. So I remember we're saying, half the guys are saying, no, this is not cool. We don't know where we following this old man into. We got no communications, who knows? Anyway, so we drew lots. The lieutenants, we sort of voted, and the guys voted, let's go, follow him. So we followed him, not long, for about 2 hours, if that. And then we started seeing spoor, a lot of tracks. And the whole border war is fought on tracks, spoor. Because in southern Angola, it's soft sand, almost like beach sand.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole war is on finding tracks, following tracks and tracks. And here we come on tracks. And now we find ourselves walking into a little town. And locals are coming out. An old Portuguese, Portuguese church there. And what the hell? These locals are coming out and saying, here we are walking up the road. And they astonished, what are these South Africans doing in our town? So now the old man, so we go past this beautiful old church there, and some of the guys going to look, and the old man disappears. Of course, he's gone. He takes a break.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah, and there's tracks, there's vehicle tracks, there's all sorts of stuff. So we kind of shitting ourselves at this point. We think, hang on, this is not the way it's supposed to go. So anyway, so we walk out, we come out the church, we turn right, we go that way. Come on, some people, where's Swapo? One guy sort of points and we carry on. But now we know that we're in the shit here, man. So we're going to go out of town a little bit. And next minute we take fire, we walk right into these guys. Now, this is Fapla. This is not Swapo.
Right.
These were Fapla. Now, they were regular Angolan army guys. You weren't supposed to touch them. So we had got comms. I guess the lieutenant had got communications during this time, and we got gunships. So it is like a movie. So we hit the deck. So we had this firefight, which lasted, I don't know, probably 10 minutes, 12 minutes or more. So it's shooting, it's down, it's running, it's getting up, running forward, shooting. It's this moving firefight.
Like up he sees me down drill, sort of.
Yes, all that stuff that they trained you that you didn't think you'd do. It's fucking like that. Yeah, you're down, you shoot, and then you stop shooting the guy and you spread out. So you got 24 guys kind of spread out in a line, advancing on where we're taking fire from. And then on that side of the line, they got involved in a hell of a firefight in which we couldn't see targets. So we kind of sit here for a few minutes and watch them blasting. And then it's move forward, And then finally we got into the tree line, and now we sort of split to find stragglers. I was always at the end of the line because I used to carry LMG machine gun.
Yeah.
And your position is at the end of the sweep line. And I always, even though I wasn't carrying an LMG at this point, I still like that position because you can flank around,
Mm-hmm.
If the shit hits the fan, you can come around. So now we're looking for stragglers. And this is one of those things that you were talking about, just a breath or a kick of a can. So I started having an asthma attack. Never knew I had asthma.
Yeah.
Didn't know I had asthma.
It's a hell of a time to find out.
Fucking hell, I tell you. So we're looking for stragglers now. We're walking through like this, and now from this, we've had like 15 minutes of this up down shooting charge, up down shooting charge, up down shooting charge. So yeah, so I guess I have an asthma attack. Never knew what it was. Years later, I found out I got asthma. But anyway,
Jesus.
So I start that I can't breathe. I'm bending over, puking. My eyes are full of tears. I can't see a thing. So I'm seriously having a problem, bent over and having dry retches. I just hear my mates shout my name, Ganji. So just from their voice, the way they shouted my name, I knew that it was imminent danger.
Yeah.
So I just look, I can't even see where I'm shooting. I just like boom, 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 boom. I shoot around me and I just get their bullets. Their bullets zip past me,
Yeah.
fucking bullets this past me. And when I able to clear my eyes like this, there's a tur. I'm telling you, he was 8 yards from me. I'm
No
puking
way.
right in, I'm
Wow.
having an asthma attack and puking right in front of a tur that's hidden.
Yeah.
Hidden under the tree, man. So I just remember looking when I cleared my eyes, him with a big sort of with his hand laying on his old AK-47, and they nailed him. So my friends, they saved me, man. I would have been shot right there in mid puke. Can you believe
Yeah.
that?
Jeez. That is
Jeez.
incredible. Do you ever like, with so much like time that's gone past, like, do you ever like think back to it all and be like, well, am I just lucky or is
Yeah,
there
no.
or is there something like, do you like have that like conversation with yourself at all? Or
No. I don't. No. I don't think like that. I don't know. I
yeah,
don't think like that. I never have. It's it's just one of those things.
yeah, sort of
It's like
random chaos.
yeah, it's like having a bullet go right past you. And if it gone 1 inch, it would have hit you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just one of those things, eh?
Yeah, I'd imagine that. Well, what would you say was when you look at SWAPO and FAPLA, how were they as fighters? Like, were they competent?
No, look. Generally, we went through them like a hot knife through butter. Hot
Yeah,
knife, the airborne. Those guys, those South African guys that were schoolboys, just like a year before, they taught you so aggressively. The South African paratroop training is very aggressive. It's very
yeah,
aggressive. They want you to be a fighter, aggressive, almost like stormtrooper kind of thing.
right.
So our guys, South African guys, there, no, we went through them. The Parabats went through them like hot knife through butter.
You just got to find them first.
You got
That's
to
the
find
tricky
them
part.
first. Oh yeah. Find them first. And
There's this South African, I don't know, actually I shouldn't say South African, but I've this saying from that part of the world that, a snake can disguise itself from many animals, but the one thing it can't disguise itself from is another snake. So
yeah,
you don't send a
yeah,
hyena to get a snake. You got to sort of become the snake to get it.
100%. I like that one. Yes, 100%. Exactly.
So
Just like
you
that.
sort of have to almost like become. You got to
That's
think
why.
like the enemy to find
No,
them.
no, that's why the South Africans are so good at fighting in Africa. In with the executive outcomes, executive
Yeah,
outcomes, right? Yeah, I mean those were what there was 250 South Africans. They went up and nailed those rebels up in Sierra Leone, I think it was,
yeah,
and they nailed them in 3-4 months. They had them pinned back. So
yeah.
South Africans know how to fight in Africa. That's for sure, man. They know
Yeah.
how to fight in
Well,
Africa.
that was like a lot of veterans from the border war, wasn't it?
It was my captain, my captain. It was all our guys, all the
Yeah.
airborne, all the rank, the airborne guys. Our sergeant major was there for years. He was the training.
A little older, of course, but still kicking
Yeah,
ass.
it was them. It was people that we know. It was people that we know that ended up. I was in the US at that stage, but they the ones that
Yeah.
would do it. Yeah, no, my captain, our sergeant major, our regimental sergeant major at airborne. I think he was like second in command of the training or something for the
Yeah.
executive outcomes. But oh no, these were some hard boys. But and then they had the real thing there. I mean, so those guys that we nailed, we got about 9 of them in that contact, and then the gunships landed, and they said, no, this is not SWAPO, this is FAPLA. Hit the wrong guys. So we had a boogie. Now we had blasted out our ammunition because we had that ambush 2 days before.
Yeah.
Where we blew out all our ammunition. So we hardly had any ammunition. So this was about 4:00 in the afternoon, 4:30. So we realized that we hit FAPLA, which is the regular Angolan army. We're not supposed to. So we boogied south. So we got in single file. The helicopters took off, and we got out of there, man. Single file, and we headed south. Let's get out of here. And pretty soon they started mortaring us with 80. What are they? The 82s, right? We're the 81s. Yeah, the 82s. They started more. They didn't know exactly where we were, so they were throwing.
They're just lobbing
bombs. And so we went probably for about an hour and a half until it was dark, and then we went down in a TB, which is a temporary base.
Right.
And we went down. Now everybody's like, "Wow, that is hairy." And then here we come. Something. If you've been in the bush for weeks, it's dead silent. It's dead. It's the middle of nowhere, man. You know, Angola, southern Angola, where we were. If you fly over it with the airplane, which I've flown over it, going back to South Africa, there's nothing. It's a sea of green.
Right.
It's so quiet. So here suddenly you hear a big diesel engine following your spoor. So I was saying everything's on tracks. That whole war was following tracks.
Yeah.
So these guys are following us at night with a BTR.
Yeah.
And a BTR it's this thing right here. That's a BTR.
Yeah.
And it's got a 14,5 on it. And we hardly got any ammunition. So like we up and this thing's close. This roar, you know, and they on our spur, they on our tracks. So we quickly have a meeting, and the radio, if I remember, the radio was screwed up again. I guess we had a bad radio, and there was no communications again.
It's a common theme here, right?
Yeah, there was no comms. Nobody. We were like, what the hell? And then finally the lieutenant got through, and he said, South Africa says, book out of there, man. Head south, move. So we packed our stuff and we boogied in single file at night. And you're not supposed to move at night in the bush. In the bush war, this, you know, when it's dark, you don't move. But anyway,
and why is that?
That, you know, good question. I think it's because anything that moves is an enemy.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the special forces guys would, the recce's and whatnot, they would operate at night.
Right.
But if we were anywhere in the bush, when sun goes down, you dig in and that's it. You don't move. Mm-hmm. So anything that does move gets shot.
Right.
So that's the way on that. But we went south on that, and then we're still in there a couple of more weeks. Saw a few more contacts. We were there a month in Angola, just seeking and destroy, and saw quite a bit of action. And then we had to go back to Namibia. We walked back. It took us a good couple of days, but we had been banging around in southern Angola there for a month, you know, in platoon strength. I mean, you know, it doesn't get better than that, man. As youngsters, walking around with guns, hunting, fighting in, you know, southern Angola, doesn't get better. There we had been there a month, man, by ourselves.
And now you guys are the ones coming back to base with the long hair and the tans. And
that's right. Yeah. That's right. So now so all the platoons we had 4 platoons, remember, and they were 5 kilometers apart. So while we were having our action, the other platoons were having their action too, eh? They were seeing their shit. And we heard they got attacked. Many stories, but they got attacked and we heard them at night getting revved. They were attacked by SWAPO, getting mortared, and we heard it. Boom, 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 boom. It was quite something. Oh, and then a South African jet. Before you knew it, there was a jet scrambled from South Africa, and you heard it. You know, in that quiet night in Angola, dead quiet. You just hear boom, boom, boom. They were being attacked, and you hear this jet coming from South Africa, and all the mortars stop, and this jet's flying above them in the night, you know.
Yeah.
And then he splits. Oh, it was amazing, man. And then so we reunioned just north of the border. The 4 platoons got together, and everybody told their war stories and what they had done and this done. And a couple of our guys had got shot. 2 guys seriously shot. I spoke to him the other day, El Swanepoel. He was shot through the groin in the ambush, badly shot. He's still, to this day, which is 40 years later, he's still in and out of hospital.
Really?
He might lose the leg and sick from that gunshot, eh? Yeah. Yes. So many years ago. So a couple of our guys were shot. We got quite a few kills. I think we had got probably about 35 kills, 40 kills.
Yeah.
In that operation. And then we went back. And then, so we walked into the base, like you said, dirty, long hair, walked in the base, and there were new troops there, infantry troops.
Yeah.
And they were like checking us out and checking us out. And, you know, who's the and these airborne guys, you know?
Right.
And we walk in, and I remember that is the first time I'd heard that song by Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. You know that?
Yeah.
We were sitting there, black is beautiful, drinking a Coke, you know, drinking your first cold Coke and having a candy bar.
Yeah.
And out of the canteen, I heard the song, this drumming, and what the hell? I'm a musician myself, so
yeah.
So I thought, what the man? I pushed these infantry guys aside, and I heard the song for the first time. But I always remember it because it's just coming straight out of Angola. And then another interesting thing. So we've been in the base now maybe half an hour. We sit down, and then that had been our base before. That's where we were based.
Yeah. Before
we went to Angola, but now the young infantry guys had taken it over, and we had two little cats there. So the one guy comes and says, "Hey," he comes to me, Granger. He says, "Granger, the sergeant major, the infantry sergeant major, killed those two cats." And we're like, "What?" He says, "Yeah, he banged the one against the wall and he stomped on the other one." I said, "What the hell? Where's the sergeant major?" So we've been there half an hour in that base. I track down the sergeant major. I get one of the infantry guys. I say, "Hey, buddy, come here. Where's your sergeant major?" Oh, he was a staff sergeant, but he was the camp sergeant major, the KSM, which is the sergeant major of the camp.
Right.
Of the camp. Although
so he's pretty high up there.
Yes, and he was a mean guy. He'd ruled. They were so shit scared. I said, "Where's your sergeant? Where's your, guys, M?" "Oh, no." I said, "You go get him. Tell him there's a paratrooper going to see him." "Oh, no." But then I think he realized, hey, this could be good. So he went off, and I'd crossed the line, man. I'd crossed the line.
You're just seeing red.
Oh, I was seeing murder, man.
Yeah.
And then I went to the guy's tent. I was waiting in his tent, and here he comes across the parade ground, coming to his own tent, and I'm standing in his tent. And I say, "Hey, buddy, you the guy that killed the cats?" In Afrikaans. We speak Afrikaans.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yeah. So what of it?" Something like that. Anyway, I kicked the shit out of him. Now there's a lot of guys that have got in trouble for hitting a officer or striking a rank or whatever, but this was not that. This was more. I kicked the living shit out of him. He shit his pants. He was crying. Drag him outside. Kicked the crap out of him. It went on and on. It wasn't good.
And other people are seeing this happen.
All his guys, a bunch of his guys, and some of my paratroopers too. So it wasn't good. I'd crossed the line. I was going to, full on. It went on for, I don't know. It went on for probably 4 minutes or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you had just gotten back from this crazy intense mission.
Yes, and he had killed our cats.
Yeah,
and he had smashed them. So, and I spoke to the cook who told me what happened. The guys were in the mess eating, and the cats were in the mess. So he stomped on the one in the mess, broke its neck or its back in the mess. And the other one he hit against the wall, killed it, and left it lying there or something. So yeah, I kicked the crap out of him. So I was arrested immediately.
Yeah.
So our little sergeant major, company sergeant major, he came out, and so it was a big deal, and they locked me up. But they locked me up there. But at the same time, as we had come into the camp, we had heard about this big operation coming up like soon. A huge operation into Angola, and we were going to be involved, which we heard straight away when we got in the camp. And then so I was locked up, and then I was released the next day. That evening, all those infantry guys got beaten up by the airborne guys. Every single one of them. And then anyway, I was released next morning, and then we drove back to the paratrooper base at Ondangwa. That's where the airborne base is. And yes, sure enough, there was this big operation, and they don't tell you stuff in the army. You just know it's a big operation.
Yeah.
We thought we're going to attack the whole of Angola. We're going up to Luanda. This is the big one, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm arrested. So immediately that we get there, we've just come back from this operation, and the guys go off to train for this other big cross-border operation. We're going to nail them, and we're going to nail FAPLA now. We're not going after SWAPO, the guerrillas. We're going after the regular army.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in front. So anyway, I got to stay in base because I've got a court-martial coming on. So my boys, they pack up straight away. This is all within next day stuff, you know.
Yeah, you're moving. There's not a lot of time to decompress.
No, nothing at all. 2 days, and they off into the bush to go train for three weeks. We were going to train for this big operation, which was a big deal. There were trenches, bombs, bombers, everything. So they go off, and I got to stay with the junior company at our base there. Oh, they flew the junior company up from South Africa to take over. And they weren't fully trained yet, the junior company. But anyway, they came and took over the base there. And I had to stay with them for 2 weeks. And I saw my lawyer, and I was seeing my lawyer, and they were building a case, you know, and I was going to get court-martialed, and I never knew what was going to happen. Might even get DB, you know, or thrown out of be thrown out. I don't know. But once again, I wasn't worried, because it never entered my mind, actually. I just saw the game was carrying on, man. You know, I wasn't, I didn't really understand how severe it was. And so anyway, so I get a court-martial. 2 weeks later, we go in the court-martial. I've got my army lawyer with me, and he gives my case. And boy, anyway, I got a letter from our commanding officer of our company, and he had said that, you know, we were in the front line, and that you know, we had seen a lot of action. We had just seen a lot of action up there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then and our pets, you know, these cats were our pets, and somebody killed them.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that I got a suspended sentence.
Yeah, that must be unheard of for what you did.
I didn't even understand, you know, they talking Afrikaans so fast. You know, these big guys in the court-martial, I couldn't even understand what the hell they were saying. So when we, you know, about turn, get out. All right. You know, you march out of the court-martial, and I asked my lawyer, I said, what happened? He said, "You so lucky, man. You got a suspended sentence." And it was the letter, because it was the letter from my company commander that said I was a good fighter. I was good. I'd been in the forefront of those attacks, the forefront of the bloody, you know, contacts, and they needed everybody.
They needed you. They needed you for what was to come.
Right, you got a big camp. So okay, so we go back to the town where I had the court-martial was about a half an hour away from the parachute base. So I get back there, and I go to the junior captain who was in charge, the captain of the juniors, and I said, "Sir, I'm finished with my," and he was a well-known bastard as well. "I'm finished with my court-martial. I want to rejoin my guys." He says, "Oh, and I was wearing sneakers because I'd screwed my toes up so bad during training, man."
Yeah.
You know, my lieutenant used to kind of let me wear sneakers because they were so badly damaged. He says, "What's up with the sneakers?" I say, "Oh, sir, you know, it's my feet have got problems." And he says, "Well, you staying right here. You're not joining anybody. You go to the hospital and sick report right now. Come back, bring me the sick report. You staying here. You ain't rejoining."
Yeah.
I say, "Yes." And I'm so disappointed because I know that my guys are doing this training for this big operation. So I say, "Yes, sir." I turn around, I salute him, I turn around, I walk to my tent. Immediately I say, "Up yours, buddy. I'm going AWOL." So I start packing my stuff. I've just come out of a court-martial 1 hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, you're like maybe pushing your luck a little bit.
Yeah, I came out an hour and a half ago. I came out of court-martial. I said, "No way, I'm not missing this big game. I'm not missing this fight." I pack my stuff. I go around the back of the base. I hitchhike out towards the battle. So I get a lift. The first truck going out the base is a water truck, picks me up, and he's taking water to the training site, which is, I don't know, probably it's an hour's drive, hour and 15 minutes drive, maybe from where we are in the bush. They've been training there for like 2 weeks, two and a half weeks, with trenches and jets dropping bombs. There were 40 or 60 aircraft involved.
Yeah, so this is a big mission.
Oh, the biggest operation since that South Africans done since the Second World War.
Yeah,
huge attack. So okay, so he drops me off. He says, walk through here, you're gonna see your guys. I'm like, you crazy? Just like bush. He says, keep on walking straight, man, you're gonna walk in your guys. Anyway, so I did walk right on my guys, my airborne guys, and they are looking forlorn and their hair's long, because they were in the other operation. Now they're straight in this. I still had a haircut. I was forced to have a haircut in between.
Yeah.
Not these guys. And everybody's downcast. And I'll say, what's going on, guys? I'm all happy. This is about 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm all happy. Hey, guys, how's it? Everybody looks at me like, I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, then they pull me in and they say, hey, Big, we're leaving tomorrow morning. I just made it.
Yeah.
I just made it, man. And they told me it's they've been training for 2 weeks there, diving into bunkers, throwing grenades into bunkers, clearing trenches, jets dropping bombs, 1,000-pound bombs, huge bombs.
Yeah.
And anyway.
They just have this like sense of foreboding that like they're going to be like into some heavy shit. Yes,
sir. I'd never seen it. I'd never seen them like that before. Usually they looking good and you know what, guys, but these guys had been through, because they had no break. They had that other operation we were on for 4 weeks, and they went straight into this one.
Right.
So foreboding's the right word. Yes. And so they explained to me what's going on, and then our sergeant major came and said, hey, train him. So somebody trained me in like half an hour. What it took them 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bunkers.
I'm sure you learned everything that you had to know.
I learned everything I had to know, exactly. So that is it. So then that night we had steak. When the army gives you steak, the steak dinner in the middle of the bush, shit's coming, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, everybody gets a steak. I don't know how many hundreds of steaks there must have been. But and anyway, the next morning we left at about, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, a long convoy, fighting vehicles, rattles. A rattle is a South African fighting vehicle. It's got a 90 millimeter on it. It's got a 90 millimeter. Some of them have got 60 millimeters. It's a fantastic fighting vehicle. Big convoy, many kilometers long. And we crossed the border into Angola. And we're going to attack these big bases, FAPLA bases. So it took about 2 days or so. And it was on my 21st birthday, 28th of August.
Yeah.
So now we attack. Oh, so the night before, that night before we left, we got orders. But they don't tell you details in the army, only at the last moment.
Yeah.
They say, all right, this platoon, we're going to travel now. We're going to hit the trenches when there's going to be a tar road, and then there's going to be banana-shaped trenches, and they drew it there. And the jets are going to drop bombs for half an hour. When we get to the first trenches, then we deploy. Everybody jumps out of vehicles, line up, and we advance through. It's a big base. It was 13 square kilometers of trenches and bunkers. Big base. There was supposed to be 1,000 guys waiting for us there.
Wow.
So anyway, and then and of course they tell you, I remember this, lieutenant says, guys, those of you who don't believe in God and Jesus, tonight's the night that you must maybe have a prayer, but some of us aren't coming home from this one.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh my God, tomorrow is my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I ain't coming home. 21st birthday, we're attacking this base. And my 2 previous birthdays, I'd been arrested.
Right.
On two birthdays. So for 2 birthdays in a row, arrested and locked up in jail. And now the 3rd birthday, we're attacking a base.
Yeah. Not better.
No, not good. Funny, man.
And that's Operation Protea, right?
That's Operation Protea. Yes, yeah. Protea. It was a big operation. big operation that we went into, and we at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was dead quiet, and we were really close to the base, and the South African jets started dropping 1,000-pounder bombs.
These Mirage jets?
Mirages, yeah. Is it a Mirage F1? I'm not sure. I think, I don't know, but Mirages, yeah, Mirages. And they dropping, they coming from miles high, coming straight down vertical. And these guys are shooting back at them with AK.
Yeah.
They got these Soviet anti-aircraft. It's a ZU-23, I think it is. It's got 3 barrels. It's this one right here. I'll show you a photograph. Show you a picture right here. Where is it? Yeah, these right here. These guns, you know.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. That's the Soviet weaponry.
Yeah, Soviet. Yeah, these were the ones that were shooting at us. And I've got a lot of photographs which are in the book.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of these pictures of Operation Protea. I've got them right in front of me. But so our guys are these. I think there were 40 or 50 Mirages involved in this attack, and Impalas too. You know, the ones that the other one. So it was like watching a movie with these guys, our planes dropping these bombs, 1,000-pounder bombs, which I'd never heard before. They're so loud, and these guys are shooting at our planes with AK, like Second World War stuff. You know, you got this flak up in the air, and they're bombing and they're shooting, and what the hell? And then half an hour, that's it, and we right up front, we the airborne. So we sitting in our biffles watching this, like watching a film, man. And then we get the order, deploy, you know. Now we gotta, so we jump out the sides, and they still there waiting for us, man. They shooting like hell. We get pinned down, we can't move, can't even see a target. You don't even know where they're shooting from. So when we deployed, we were pinned down, couldn't move. But it's like a little mini D-Day, mini D-Day thing.
It's like World War II style combat.
You got your cheek, you squeeze your cheek in that dirt as deep down as you can. You can't even lift your head to do anything. You can't even lift a finger it's cracking. They're cracking over you. So, man, that is for, I'm telling you, probably 40 minutes or something like that. You know, you think this is it. Any minute now, I'm going to get one in my head. Brains are dead.
Yeah.
And then they did called in a strike, airstrike. Airstrike came in with an Impala, drop more bombs. That loosened us up. Then we were able to go forward. And when we were able to go forward, I had an RPG almost like miss my head. And funny thing too. So, okay, we're doing fire and movement, which is, you know, one buddy.
Yeah, right.
You know, so, okay, you run forward, boom, you down. Okay, my turn. So as I go, I put my rifle on fire, which opens up the working parts with R4. It's like AK-47. If you put it on fire, it sort of opens up there. And as I get up like this, the RPG gets shot. There was an armored vehicle, a rattle to my right. Fucking RPG comes right at me. So as I'm up, I just drop like a dead man into the dirt. But I plow in with my rifle. All the sand plows into my thing. So I'm down like this. And then my mate Stan, he says, he was like in a little bit of cover, but there's no cover there. No cover. He said, come. So I leopard crawl. You know, that they teach you in training to leopard crawl like that. You crawl. In training, you can't do it. You do it like perfectly when you have to. I call to him. I'll tell him, Stan, I've got fucking dirt all in my rifle. He says, you got to clean it out right now. So one thing that I struggled with during training was the stripping your rifle and putting it back. You know, you see them
taking it apart and
do it so fast. Good luck. I mean, it's
blindfolded.
I can't do that shit. But let me tell you, I lay on my back, stripped that rifle in seconds, stripped it, took my bandana, cleaned it out, put it back together, bam, 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 tested it, shot in the air in seconds. Not seconds, but flawlessly. My fingers were like pins, man.
Oh, it's
And then,
amazing what you can do under that pressure.
oh man, it was one shot. I got that rifle back together. And then so now we started to move forward. Next minute, here comes a tank. Oh no, we start moving forward. So our guys on our right, they moving a little more forward, they're ahead of us. Man, I see these guys turn around and start charging back, running, tank. Here comes the bloody Soviet tank coming out at us here. Boom, boom. So we all hit the deck, and there's not many people seen this, I don't think.
No, there's not many people alive who have
No.
seen that.
No. And I'll tell you what happened. So we so we run a little to the left, and tank. So one of our little South African armored cars, it's a Noddy car. It's a French Eland. No, it's good. It's a pan. It's originally a French vehicle.
Okay.
But it's taken by South Africans and adapted whatnot.
Yeah.
And it has a 90 millimeter on it. One of our little armored cars comes from the back through our line like this. Oh, he was right by me. I could have thrown a stone on him. Came like this, turned to the right, aimed, bam, shot out that tank. Bam, hit him again.
Yeah.
I got a photograph right here of that burning tank, man. I got it right here. I'll show you right now. Where is it? There's not many people seen a tank shot out right in front of the eyes. Yeah, there's where's that damn tank?
That's just incredible. That sort of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how this war in Africa, it's tank battles in Africa.
Yeah.
And like, who would know about that unless you were there?
Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you, you have to speak to somebody. I must give you some names that you need to talk
after the show.
There's some guys that were involved in that other tank battle years after us. That is like unbelievable.
Quinta Valley, or
yeah.
Saying it the right way.
Where the hell's my tank? Anyway, I want to show you. Otherwise, you won't believe me.
No, I believe you, man.
But here's some of the. So we finally got into the base, and there's one of their tanks in the base.
Hold that back a little bit more.
There's one of their tanks in the moorings. Ton of stuff. I mean, I'll show you that tank.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's just like kind of reminds me of just like World War II style, like fighting. Not you didn't even have that kind of fighting in Vietnam, really, with enemy tanks coming towards you.
It was the real thing there for that morning from 6 a.m. till about 12. It is the real.
So it was a successful operation in the end.
Well, it went on. So there's the tank. Okay, so the tank gets knocked out, which is great. All right, guys. So let's move forward. Now they put those anti-aircraft guns, those 23 millimeters.
Yeah.
I think it's a ZU-23 or something. It's got 3 barrels.
Okay, and they're just lowering the barrels and
they're lowering the barrels.
Yeah.
Your brain has never heard when that thing opened up. Your brain has never heard anything like that in its life. Everybody just like drops and freezes. You've never heard that sound in your life before. And it's shooting at you. It's one thing, we heard them shooting up at the planes, right? So it's like being in a shooting range. When you shoot downrange and you at the targets and they're shooting over you, you hear the real sound. Yeah,
exactly.
But now these anti-aircrafts are shooting over our heads. Oh my God. Tree limbs falling, big tree limbs crashing down. Everybody's just down, and we're like, oh my God. And then so this guy, he would shoot and then stop. Nobody wants to move.
No.
And then he would, and I think each barrel can shoot 1,000 rounds a minute or something. So.
And these are huge rounds.
Too. Yeah, it's a 23 minute. You must YouTube it. It's YouTube. I think it's a ZU-23.
Okay.
YouTube it. You'll see those things shooting, and imagine those things shooting up your head. So he must have. I think he must have run out of ammunition or something, and he stopped. Or he wasn't. He was quite brave, that guy. And then So this is all back to back. As we're attacking the base, we've hardly fired a shot off at this point.
Yeah.
because there's no targets.
Mhm.
It's just us, but and then so then he quit, and then we were able to go forward a bit more, and then we were pinned down again. Machine gun had us pinned down, also taking fire, and he's hidden, and blah blah blah. Finally, my mate Doogie, Aaron Green, is another guy you can speak to. Him and our sergeant major. Oh, they had flown up our sergeant major from South Africa for this. He was a legendary sergeant major, unbelievable soldier. But he was a parade ground. We just knew him on the parade ground.
Yeah.
We never knew that anything about that. But they had flown him up, and he was right with us.
Yeah.
And he was like, when he was the parade ground, where's that LMG? In Afrikaans, fast die fucking LMG, bring him vorentoe. Where's that LMG? Bring it up. So he's like on parade, man, this guy shouting. And anyway, they finally find this machine gun, and my mate nails him with the LMG, with a mag. And he knows, and then it eased up. Then we were into the trenches, and then it eased up. So, but for that, from 6 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., 11, it was the real deal.
You're not sure which way it's going to go at that time.
Yeah. And then we started seeing them. Then we started shooting. Now we're seeing them. Now they're backtracking. Now they're bolting. Now we're seeing them because they're bolting out of trenches there, and we were in these trenches. And then it was like that. Then it calmed down.
You're taking the punishment when you're attacking, but when you get them on the run, then you can get some revenge, sort of.
Right, and it was a very big base. It is like 13 square kilometers, something, of trenches, and it's all hidden trenches. I mean, like, you can walk on a bunker, you don't even see a bunker till it's right on us. We came on a bunker, and everybody's down, and the lieutenant shouts to me, Korff and Green, get that bunker. Now, I had missed the grenade throwing class for some reason. I think I know why I missed it, because I had gone to Special Forces selection.
Okay.
Special Force selection. We were gone for 7 weeks while everybody else was doing coin ops. No, they were doing conventional training. We missed that. Me and my mate, we were on another course.
Yeah.
But we came back to the airborne. But I'd never thrown a grenade. But we had this pouch of grenades on the side. So I look at Kevin, and I got the grenade out, run forward. It's just like in the movies. You run forward, you take the pin, you throw it in the fucking bunker, and you roll, right?
Yeah.
But bam. But let me tell you, I should have rolled a bit more, because the blast shoots out of that bunker. I was okay, but
but a little too close for comfort, though.
Yeah. Next time I throw a grenade in bunker, I'm going to roll a bit further. And then we spent 3 days in that base, and we even slept in that base that night, which was very hairy, man. Sleeping, it is still active. Yeah. They're still in there, they're running and they're hiding, but they're still in the trenches and hidden and bush. So we slept in there that night, and then next morning, many stories, man. It carried on and on. But 3 days, and then finally cleared it up, captured tons, football fields of ammunition and Soviet equipment and tanks, and we must have got maybe 15-20 tanks that we got from them, and all taken. That is Operation Protea.
Did that like set them back at all?
Oh,
that must have.
Very successful. That was the whole thing, was to set them back, you see. Yeah, correct.
That probably just put them back by like a significant amount of time, because
that's
you're disrupting.
100%. They got all these equipment and tons more.
Yeah.
And that's in the back. Now, the reason that South Africa hit Angolan army, the regular army, was because the regular army was aiding SWAPO.
Right, yeah.
Before we were fighting the insurgents, we weren't allowed to hit the regular army. But then SWAPO started putting their bases close to the FAPLA bases. And so South Africa said, let's go in and fuck them all up.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what we did. So the rules changed on Operation Protea. Now we were against Angola.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so there was like an alliance between the two of them. It reminds me of like Afghanistan, where you got Al Qaeda on one side and then the Taliban, but it's essentially the same thing.
Exactly. That's what started. That's what made America or the Allies invade Afghanistan, I think, because they were aiding, they were giving training, they were letting Al Qaeda train there, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Same thing. Exactly. Same thing. So from then on, it all changed.
Yeah.
And then Operation Protea, then we were still in there for weeks, and there were still other attacks and other stuff. But then after 3 weeks, we went back to South Africa,
Yeah.
And
it must have been a relief to get back after, because you're basically on operation for months by that point. So you could go back and get some rest, get a good meal, and
decompress. Oh no, but no, it's not good, because everybody was up. I was just speaking with my brother about this last week. Actually, all the guys were sick when we came back. They were like sick and depressed, and then you go to, so the doctors, and filthy. Your clothes are torn, your pants are torn, everything's torn. You're filthy. You haven't bathed in 4 weeks, and the guys were sick with adrenaline withdrawal.
Really?
So you've had adrenaline in your system all this time, pumping daily in your system. So I never heard about it, but so the doctor explained everybody was feeling sick and all this, and he said, no, that's the withdrawal of the adrenaline, that you had it, which is strange.
That is, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, adrenaline withdrawal, which makes sense, right?
It does, yeah.
It's like smoking every day or something, and then you got to quit suddenly. It's
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, where's my adrenaline? I want it.
And it's of course meant for short bursts.
Yes.
When you're running 100 miles an hour for months, it's gonna take a toll on your body and your mind too.
Yeah, that's what it was, and that is Operation Protea. That is very successful. It is the biggest South African external operation since the Second World War.
Yeah. So you got out of the army. The ceasefire was in what, 1990, I think, or
yes, we still had action. We still saw more action after that. It was Operation Daisy, which was another big operation deep into Angola to hit more bases, and we were front lines for that too. Again, we saw some big contacts. Well, my company saw it. Was quite a screw up, the company, the operation. There's a lot of lemons, but we actually saw a big, nasty contact involving families and terrorists with their families and babies and kids and everything, and big in the dust and the smoke. You don't know who it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was not good, which had quite an effect on me, actually.
Well, that's what fucks people up is, you see the civilians get caught up in things.
Yeah, they escaped the base. They had attacked the base, and we were on fire force, which was a reaction force, and the base was a lemon. So when they got there, they had left the base, and they just left the base. Food was still cooking and blah blah, and then we were rushed up there to help, but we weren't needed because it was a lemon. And then they found, then the spotter plane saw this large group, 70 people escaping around the back, and it was the terrorists. So we flew there, right in them, got the gunships and had them pinned down. But it was the terrorists with their families.
Yeah.
So it was horrendous. It was not good.
That's like I said, that's what's gonna cause you to. Well, that's gonna fuck anybody up. I mean,
yes, 100%. That was not a good. The other, fighting somebody with the AK-47 is one thing, but toddlers.
That guy wants to be there, but
his
families don't.
Yeah, it was terrible. That to this day it still sits with me, that one.
Well, that's common with a lot of veterans, that it's hard to shake those things off, right? Because you think about it, and I don't know if it's just if time helps, or what do you think? How do you get over something like that?
Nah, listen, that is some nasty stuff. It's babies, it's kids, it's grandmothers, it's toddlers, it's mothers still holding their babies, their toddlers with one arm because the other arm's been shot off and stuff like that. And the toddlers, it's just not good stuff, eh? It just never goes away.
And you write about that too, right? About how when you're in America now, those demons are still with you, even though you've crossed the ocean and seemingly left the war behind you, but it's still.
Yes, those demons follow you wherever you go. You can cross around the world 7 times. They just come with you.
Yeah, you talk about like, walking the streets, looking for fights, and that's just, it's really common with veterans who have seen,
Yes,
shit like that.
yes.
And I don't know if it's, I think there's like a part of you that probably wants that adrenaline to come back. And of course, you can never replicate battle. You can never, so
It,
there, you get into like that risky behavior and,
yeah,
fighting.
it's just that your uh, um, tolerance of bullshit is zero. It's down to zero. So when I came to America here and landed in Hollywood, man. My friend was living in Hollywood. So yeah, we're in Hollywood, and these youngs can talk, eh? And so when you have someone yapping at you, so you got zero tolerance for any kind of bullshit. That's the problem. That's why you end up in these fights, and that isn't that you go looking for them at all. It's not that. It's just that you got zero tolerance for any bullshit from anybody. So that's a big problem. So you end up in issues. And then, but writing the book. So I came to the States here, and I was a professional boxer at the time, actually. So yeah, I mean, fighting was what I did. But
Writing a book can often have a sort of like a cathartic effect on people.
That's what I'm leading to. That's one of the reasons why I wrote that book too, because people here wouldn't believe me. I still had this war raging, and people had never heard of people that hardly heard of South Africa, never mind some fighting in Angola. So that's one of the things that when I started writing that book, that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about this book, when I wrote it, I kind of wrote it for myself. I didn't really think of getting it published or even getting it out there. I wrote it for me, basically. I thought, yes, obviously I'll try and get it published one day. Who knows? I'll have it self-published and hand it out for free.
Yeah.
So, but it took me quite a few years to get through it, and then to write it. And then finally it got published. I happened to meet a publisher, and I sent it to him, he wrote back and said, "Man, this is going to be our big book. This is great." I said, "You sure? Are you sure you're reading the right book then, mate?" He says, "Oh, man." And it got,
it's a fantastic read.
Yeah, he said his wife was crying. He says his wife never cries. She was reading the book, and she's part of the publishing.
What publisher was it?
It was 30 Degrees South.
Okay.
30 Degrees South, which is out of South Africa,
okay.
And they got some amazing books. Well, it's changed. They've changed now. Chris Cox was the main guy. He was a Rhodesian. He was in the RLI in Rhodesia.
Yeah.
And he was the one running that. But he's left now, Chris, and it has changed. But it is there. And my second book was also published by 30 Degrees South. I have a follow-up book, Bat Out of Hell. Which goes about coming to America. It's the aftermath,
right?
And it's a good
part two.
Part two, man, part two. But the beautiful thing of this book, 19 with a Bullet, I wasn't just telling my story. Unbeknownst to me, I wasn't just telling my story. So when this book came out, and it got around, and it did very well. I was very surprised. I thought it would sell 50 copies, and it's 30,000 copies plus. So
which is a huge success.
For a little memoir like that, yes, it is. And so for paratroopers and airborne guys, now they suddenly had a book, because it is their same story. They had the same story, and they had a book that they can go to their parents and their loved ones and family and say, "This is what I did right here. That's me."
Yeah.
So that's why
it's your story, but it's just like everything that happened to you, like they were living the same thing.
100%. And I got so many messages from so many brothers and sisters and mothers of these guys that said, "Thank you for writing the book." The one mother wrote to me and said that and her son was a Norris Crooks receiver, which is like the Medal of Honor here in the States.
Okay.
For bravery. And she said when he read this book, she was 80 years old or something, and she said she thanks God that she lived long enough to see this black pall depression leave her son.
Yeah, that's a good feeling, isn't it?
On reading this book, and he'd say, hey, this is what we did. This is what I did. This is what we did. And I've got so many messages over the years. I got a message 5 days ago from a guy in South Africa. It took a while to get it out of the guy. He's talking to me. He says, hey, did you know a Marx with you? And I'm saying, who are you? And no, we didn't have a Marx with us. He says he was with you. This message went going back and forth. I'm thinking, who is this guy? Is he trying to? So I was a bit cagey. And this is just 5 days ago. And ends up there was a Marx, because I've got my picture out on the wall. I said, you know what? Let me get the picture off right here. And this is it right here. This is the platoon. No, company. Yeah, that's the company right there. And I looked up, and sure enough, there's a Marx there. Yeah. And I said, yes, he was with us. And this particular guy, Marx, I remember he had got 14 kills. And he was just a slight guy, little guy with glasses, not a big old macho Rambo guy. And I remember, and his friends and his guys, his mates backed him up and said, yeah, it's true. He got 14 kills. Yeah. And so, yeah, there's this guy. And then finally I wrote to this guy yesterday. I saw that, hey, yeah, Marx was with us. There was a Marx with us. And because he had an X. I was thinking of Marx with a K. Yeah. Marx with the X. And then I said, yeah. And who are you to him? He said, oh, I'm his son. Wow. His son finding about his father. Yeah. And I said, yeah. Your dad was a good fighter, man. He got 14 kills. Yeah. He was, so I still have people reaching out. I've got some amazing.
You tapped into something.
Oh yeah, I got all these messages. I got a book of messages from people. You can't see it yet. Yeah. I got a book of messages over the years. And this book's been out for what, 11 years now.
And people are still reading it.
Yeah, they're still reading it and they're still writing, and it's amazing,
It's a good feeling, isn't it, when you can have that positive effect on people.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. I always tell the guys, it's not my story. This is any paratrooper story, and not only paratroopers, just infantry guys, guys who are up on the border fighting. Yeah. So it's I feel so honored to be able to tell the story that has become other guys' stories. I feel so honored. It's such a blessing for me. And that has been very helpful to me, like we were talking about. So I have done full circle. I am good. And it's been through them helping them that has made me good.
Yeah, it's the power. That's the power of literature right there. Like you can reach some people on like an emotional level when, you're reading those words on the pages.
Oh, yes. And just to tell, and back then, there's a lot of books on the South African thing now, but it's a very conservative country, and there weren't many books out there, and some of them are pretty dry, Yeah. And just the way I guess I wrote that book, I'd been living in the States here for a while, so maybe
that rubbed off on you.
Yes, and I was looking at it from a different angle. I was looking at it backwards, so and I was able to write it like that too. Yeah. So I feel very honored to have written this book that have helped many, many, many veterans in South Africa. Yeah.
Yeah. And Granger, I guess it's at this time where we'll all say that it's been my honor to talk to you today. Oh, really appreciate it.
Well, I thank you for making contact with me and getting hold of me in that. And I've really enjoyed it. It's been great. It's been great.
Maybe we'll have to do a part 2 about Bat Out of Hell someday.
Yeah, part 2, man. Part 2. Read it. It's a good book. The part 2 was coming to America, and with the war raging, landing in Hollywood with a war raging in your head, and trying to adapt to a new country.
I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah,
definitely going to. If it's half the book that 19 with a Bullet is, then I know I'll enjoy it. It's your book is available on I know you can get it on Amazon, like everything else these days. So
yes, Amazon. You can get it, and you can get it directly from the publisher if you can't get it on Amazon, which is 30 Degrees South Publishing in South Africa. 30 Degrees South Publishing. Yeah, you can get it on online. They're quite easily available.
I'll post a link on the website so people can have have a link to it.
Yes, and if you could just put like a photograph, maybe of a picture of the book or something like that.
Yeah, for sure I will.
Yeah, 100%. Russell, good stuff, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Granger, really good talking to you, buddy.
All right.
And that concludes my talk with author and former South African paratrooper, Granger Korff. I'm going to put a link to his book, 19 with a Bullet, on the website, and I highly recommend you get your hands on it. If you like the book 3 Sips of Gin by Tim Bax, then you're definitely going to enjoy this one. Now, since the last podcast, I've gotten well over 100 new subscribers, and I can't name you all, but I do appreciate you all. So here's a big shout out to Misty DD, Rick P. Durer, Richard Hillman, Gary Sullivan, and Martin Weir, to name just a few. My thanks to all of you and all the listeners. Hey, if you like today's podcast, do me a favor and share it on your social media. Better yet, go old school. Tell a friend or a family member about what we're doing here. You can also rate the podcast, leave a review, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. It really helps out. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, send me an email at russell@russellhillier.ca. This episode is available wherever you get your podcast from and also on YouTube. Finally, I'm going to dedicate this episode to all the men lost on South Africa's borderland. That's it for today. Out.